Hello everyone. Today I've got another cool find for you. This is a Melodigrand 63 key spinet piano. I picked this up for free off of Let Go, which no longer exists, but it was absorbed by OfferUp, I think. But I picked this up. Luckily I got a truck, so just loaded it in the back and brought it home, and now it lives upstairs in my room. The piano was about a half step out of tune when I got it. I fixed that. I'll talk about what you might want to look for when buying a used piano later on. But now we're going to get into the history of the Melodigrand. There's really no official way to pronounce it. I like Melodigrand because melody makes sense. But the Melodigrand line was started as a budget line from the Lindman Piano Company in the 1900s. Lindman was known for kind of rare grand piano called a cycloid, which was based off of square grands that could fit like in the back, sort of like how standing pianos are meant to fit in a corner, out of the way, doesn't take up a lot of space. Well, Lindman took that design and kind of did the exact opposite of what it was designed for and made it more grandiose. It's big and round, kind of obtuse. The main purpose of the design was so that you could put the piano in the middle of a room and you could be easily seen while you were playing it. Lindman inevitably was absorbed by a larger piano company, the United Piano Corporation. The Melodigrand badging was given to the Winter Piano Company, who's known for the Winter Musette, which was the first American spinet piano produced. Afterwards, they were absorbed by Aeolian, which is one of the largest piano companies ever. All of that shut down in 1985. This piano is 36 inches tall, which is about 5 feet, 5.5 feet wide, and 2 feet deep. It's very tiny for a piano. You don't really see pianos built like this small. Most spinet pianos have quite cheap construction. These are good, decent American-made carpentry. You have a really thick backing brass plate. You have dual strings all the way back to about the first octave and 63 keys. The action on this actually feels pretty good. Most spinet pianos are thin. You get quite a lot of low end out of this piano, which was one of the most surprising things when I bought it. Now I'm going to go over a couple things you want to look out for when you're looking at used pianos or even free. People give them away all the time. If you check Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, any kind of app where people can give things away, you will find them all the time. Now, one of the main things that you need to consider is it going to fit? That's the most important thing. No piano is worth getting if you don't have the means to move it, you don't have the space to put it, you have neighbors, then you shouldn't be playing a piano in your apartment anyways, things like that. The other things you want to check for is the action. You've got these hammers right here, and they're supposed to rest against this bar, and there's little adjustment nuts along the keys that help you raise and lower the action. That can get really out of whack, so if the keys are pushed up, a lot of them are unevenly spaced in how they're arranged along the line, then that can take a lot of work to fix. It can mean that jack springs are worn out and things like that. The hammers, if there's any missing hammers, if they're really bent out of shape so they end up rubbing together and chafing, sometimes pieces of them will go missing and they'll be chipped a little bit. Felts, this piano was it had all of its felts, but a lot of them had fallen off into the piano over time. I recently very rudimentarily glued them back on just to do something for now. I hope to have the action professionally serviced at some point, but that's always something you want to check. Other things is the felts can get really hard, and when they're hard, they essentially need to be replaced unless you want your piano to sound like a tack piano. The other thing you want to look for is there's little bridle straps. They connect part of the action mechanism together. You'll see them, they're kind of stretched over and hooked onto a little loop and hook thing on part of the action. If a lot of those are broken, that can be very expensive to replace. If a couple of them are broken, you most likely won't even notice it in the playing, but that's something else to look for. The thing that you have to worry the least about is the tuning. Now, if strings are broken, that's a different story, but I've never really seen a used piano with broken strings. And a majority of the time, the piano will be what sounds egregiously out of tune, but this thing was about half a step out. Some pianos I've heard about a whole step as bad as the most destroyed thrift store pianos I've come across, and that's perfectly still in tunable range. Nothing has come out of tension so much that you won't really be able to tune it back without restringing it. Now, I bought a tuning hammer off of Amazon for $20. You don't want to cheap out. I mean, 20 bucks is still pretty cheap, but don't get the absolute cheapest one. The thing you want is you want the bits, the bit head of the actual wrench to be pretty well machined. This isn't crazy. It wobbles a little bit, but it gets the job done. And you want one that's long enough that you get decent leverage, or else you're not going to be able to make fine adjustments on the actual tuning pegs. Now, I might make a tutorial on how to have an amateur set up and tune your own piano. There's a lot of guides on YouTube, but they're really outdated. I'll show you how to do it with Ableton. Ableton is a built-in tuner, and it's super powerful. So now I'm going to give you a little demonstration. I'm not going to go crazy in depth. If you want to look at a very robust review of this piano, of one that's actually in good shape, ThePianoForever has his own review. If you just Google Melodigrand ThePianoForever, it'll show up. But if we start with the low end, now the tuning's not exactly in spec. I tuned it once, just plucking it with a guitar pick while I had the action out. Now that I have the action back in, I need to set up Ableton and get that going. But this thing has really nice low end and sounds pretty lush all the way up. Now I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some beauty shots of the piano. You've got the Melodigrand logo down here. That's glue. I need to sand that off. As you can see, the felts have popped off. This is still in playable condition. I'm just leaving it as it is. It's a little bit too much to deal with. But you can see I've glued a lot of them back on. This one fell off. You probably heard that during the demo. Now, pretty much from here to here, all these had fallen off. So every key used to sound like that. So it's nice to have it be normal sounding now. It was fun. It was tacky, but I can put things on the end of the felts to make it sound like that and not have to constantly live with it. Below the piano, this used to be filthy and covered in dust. If you get a used piano, there's a good chance that it's going to be really dirty. So it's good to get it apart and clean it. As you can see, the strings on the harp there. And then you have your damper pedal, and then you have your sustain pedal. which actually goes up into the action there and pushes a big metal kind of crankshaft thing that leans over and moves the dampers off. So when you press the pedal down, it translates that upward motion and lifts them off, and then it makes the notes ring out. Real quickly, I wanted to thank AntiquePianoShop.com because there is nothing on Wikipedia for Melodigrand or any of the related companies, and this website is sort of like a museum, and it gave me references to the Lindemann Piano Company, the Winter Piano Company, Aeolian, and there's even a Melodigrand virtual catalog that you can flip through the pages of. Now, this would have been for the Lindemann model pianos and not the one I have, but this is still really neat and not something I expected to see for such an unknown brand. Alright, well, thanks everyone for watching today's video. I'm most likely not going to get a video out this weekend, but I do have some interesting things lined up. I'll tease that in a second, and I will probably end up just producing 2 shorter videos during the week and releasing those during the weekend just to keep up with the schedule. This is what's coming up on Monday.